Okay, hi Taurus, and welcome to your November 2021 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky coming on to talk to you about your month ahead of November. Welcome back, Taurus. If you're new, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and like this video if it resonates. I am really ecstatic about the way that your energy is parsing through and solving problems and paying attention to details to quite a large degree. And ultimately, this should be a rebalancing month for you. You are one of the most activated signs this month, as we are having some tense T-square angles involving the planet in your sign right now, Uranus, as well as Saturn and the Sun, and eventually Mars in Scorpio. It is Scorpio season. That means that we are on your axis, the Taurus Scorpio axis, and that means it's the second most empowered time of the year for you. What does it mean for you in 2021 with the current context? Well, I would say as a Taurus person, you've got a lot of questions coming up about what you want to do for a career. Anybody with a strong Taurus placement, even ascendant, midheaven, Taurus stelliums, sun, moon, rising, I would say that there's a lot of scrutiny about that right now for you. Like, do I want to have my own business? Do I want to be an employee? Do I want to, operate in like public or private sector? I feel like there's such a root level question that many Taurus people are having about what they want to do. And if you're not having that, congratulations. I would say that you have already transcended the challenges of this time, which basically means you get to like sit on the side of the beach with the mojito or whatever and have a nice time of it. But basically, yes, this month of November is going to be giving you sign after sign, synchronicity after synchronicity about what you want to be involved in, and it's going to kind of project some long-term things for you. It's possible that you could be clumsy this month, so keep that in mind. It's also possible that your mind could be in too many places at once, and you need to try to ground yourself down. If you can't change it right this second, try to not worry about it, okay? Also, try to trust the larger scale timeline that you're kind of on regardless. I feel that every Taurus, maybe even until like early 2023, have a certain amount of guarantees, okay? So there's not really a huge need to upend and change anything right now. The T-square that we're having, Uranus, Saturn, Sun, says that any change that's made right now is kind of haphazard anyway. So there's the best thing is to really play things safe and to keep things moving. But if we are playing things safe in a territory that's never really been right for us to begin with, I understand how it could feel frustrating. But I think it might just have to. I think it's almost better to keep things safe than to be sorry, even if it does feel frustrating. And what a beautiful time, November of 2021, to accept the bed that you've made, or to accept the current sources of benevolence, because I do feel that there are many of those in your life. I also feel that you're really evolving a new spiritual health, okay? The High Priestess coming up, Temperance coming up, Two of Cups, Six of Cups. The universe is going to be very kind to you this November. Even if you find yourself in weird situations, it's like very kind. Like, oh no, I thought that I would get in huge trouble for messing up that way, but in fact, it's just kind of a matter of making it right. I think that you have a tendency to catastrophize if you're worried right now. Like if you're really freaked out about things, maybe there's an exaggeration going on about how bad things could ever be. It seems that people are really behind you. It seems that people really trust the way that you're doing it, the way that you're innovating, the way that you're bridging your way to your next goals. People really trust it, but why don't you trust it is the question. Nine of Swords coming up, Three of Swords. There's that combination has been coming up for a lot of signs this month, and it makes sense with the T-square. Basically, I think that there's some unresolved stuff that's really built up, some unresolved gunk, okay? And we've got to maybe unclog that or let that be a thing of the past. And maybe some of us are really pent up when it comes to our ideas, okay? So think about that. Like, have you held a lot of stuff back? Have you held a lot of ideas back? Have you been holding yourself back? This month will kind of push it out, okay? It's going to push out that pent up energy, and it's going to have you responsible, okay, for that experience. So what I am trying to say here is that when you have tense angles like a T-square, sometimes accidents can be the result of self-hate or self-mistrust or refusing to give yourself ease. This can lead to like minor little accidents, okay, during this time. So it's really good to streamline it now. And even saying in late October, like, yeah, there's some stuff I've got to get together. There's some stuff I've got to balance out. And there's some need for me to give myself an easier time, okay? A lot of this has to do with how you regard yourself. 2 of Cups, the High Priestess. 6 of Cups, speaking to your own inner child, negotiating with that part of you seems to be a big part of this month. I would start to prepare for the calendar new year of 2022, like January 2022, to the extent that I would not allow myself to be so scattered or so erratic as I was in 2021 as a Taurus person. I would already be making foolproof resolutions to my timeline, to what I want to be spending my time doing. And I would be following through when it comes to budget, when it comes to work ethic, when it comes to longevity, okay? And lining all of that up. So these resolutions, these New Year's resolutions are really good right now, okay? They're not going to feel great in January if we haven't thought about it yet by then, and it's going to kind of just be something in the back of your head at that point in time. But if you want to take some time here in November to think about how dated some things that some mindsets, some jobs, some whatever are in your life, and how, especially if you're not wanting to continue them for a long time, how you're not going to, or how you're going to budget, or how you're going to prepare your next big goals to make way, or how you're going to prepare your current status quo to make way for your next big goals. That seems to be the most important thing to be getting together here, because these T-squares, they allow us the opportunity to identify knots, energetic kinks, time investments that aren't worth our time, so that we can alleviate that. The word alleviation, what needs to be alleviated in your life, what stress needs to be alleviated in your life, also turmoil, non-starting philosophies, okay? So procrastination, anything like that can be alleviated now through a type of spiritual evolution and through identifying King of Swords, identifying what has been not the best decision, or identifying what has led to 9 of Swords, 3 of Swords, heartbreak, and paranoia for some people, or OCD tendencies. What has led to that? It's usually being overbooked, overworking, or having some type of trauma. So that could come up for resolution during Scorpio season. I feel that every Taurus during Scorpio season really has to come face to face, like every year in October and November. You almost have to see yourself from another person's perspective, or you have to understand the way that your actions are impacting others, especially if you're like married or living with other people or in the proximity to others. Like if you're a completely solitary Taurus, this is maybe not really the message for you, but it can be surprising like how things that don't seem like a big deal to you might impact other people during this time. It could be surprising also how you keep depriving yourself of what you actually need, okay? To the extent that through a desire for safety and security, you might just spend all your time doing something you don't like. And then that kind of impacts the people around you in a weird way too, because they kind of feel for you, or they also can be like disappointed that you're not living up to your purpose. And like their disappointment isn't what's important, but it's almost healing to see it through their perspective, because it's like from your own perspective as a Taurus. I know this is complicated. From your own perspective as a Taurus, you might be like, I'm just going to keep pushing through and I'm going to keep, getting by myself. But as you kind of maybe see other people around you being like, oh gosh, I thought they were about to go for it. I thought they were about to do that big thing. I thought they were about to do this. On one hand, you might have the most incredible reinforcement of not doing that, okay, if it's not right for you. Or you'll start to be like, oh my God, I can't not do this. I can't choose this safe, secure thing over like my life's calling at this point in time. Based on how you feel from the perspective of these other people. I know that this is complicated, but it's going to what the thesis of this is whether or not you should do something that propels you out of your comfort zone right now is going to be validated, whether or not you shouldn't do it, by assuming the perspective of outside people at this point in time and kind of seeing yourself through their perspective. It's going to kind of clear out this block, or it's going to clear out this little mental block that you're having. And it's going to get you headed on the right momentum. Let's jump into your week-to-week Taurus and get some more insight on all of this. So in the first week of November, you've got the Temperance card rooted down by King of Swords. So you've got to really temper your mind. The mind is where it's at for you right now. To do it or not to do it. To set a deadline or not to set a deadline. To worry about it or to not worry about it. Believe it or not, this is like the end-all be-all of most people's experience right now. It's so ungrounded, and I think you're called to ground. And I also think that you're called to change the environment in which you make decisions. And isn't that an interesting thing to think about? Like, as we are in a time period of complete stress, turmoil, and erraticism, can we anticipate that would be a good place to start, lifelong decision making? Decision making that has an impact on the lifelong trajectory. Maybe not. For about 95% of people right now, and I think this will really help you, Taurus, for about 95% of people, they think that they need to make some big decision right now, but what they're coming from, or basically the climate in which they're going to make this decision, is one of the worst climates for decision making. That is, okay, I wish that we could put in some fancy sound effect or something, but that is the thing that these types of T-square transits cause. That's like the energy of a T-square defined. Okay. That's it. That's what we all need to know right now, actually. But what is the answer to that? What does it mean? Like, why do we feel the need to make a change? Why do we feel the need to, upend ourselves or upend our experience in some way or another when it's not the right time? Well, that's likely because we've committed to something that wasn't needing the level of commitment that we gave to it, or it means that we have yet to heal from a previous trauma, and the universe is trying to nudge us into purpose in order to do that. Like, we've not necessarily healed as much as we thought through just putting one foot in front of the other and just kind of resting it off. Now the universe is more like walk it off than it is lay down for a while. Can you feel that? Can you feel how, just like resting or just playing it safe or just, shutting down in the face of pain is not having the same result as it was having, from 2015 to 2019? Now the universe is more like, okay, action to cope, or action to figure this out. And the first week of November is going to really bring this front and center for you, as you have some type of action to make based on a very, very balanced perspective. Try to see your experience in a more collective way instead of individual, because when it's so individuated, it's going to feel bigger than it is, and it's going to stress you out more. Try to be like, okay, so my question, my problem, my fear amongst a global dynamic, what is the problem here? And there might be none, and you might just be able to coast, in fact, and move exactly to where you need to be. So week number 2, you've got 2 of Cups rooted down by the High Priestess. There's a reconnection to yourself. There's a forging of there's the healing of your own self dialogue, perhaps, and a new faith within self connection. I'm seeing Two of Cups in this case as a self connecting. I mean, for some of you, it could be meeting a new person and making a new friend, or even meeting a soulmate for some of you in the second week. But mainly I'm seeing this as reconnecting to yourself, because I feel like you'd be surprised to know how out of touch one can be with themselves right now when they're so tied into these decisions outside of themselves. Okay. So the person overly concerned with politics, for example, has a really hard time right now. The person who runs their own business and can't go 1 minute in the day without thinking about said business. The person who is a bit OCD with fine print and details. This is very difficult. And Tsquares serve to disrupt those types of lifestyles. So, and then it's like, what else is there for people like that? The High Priestess, right? Faith. Faith that there are things in God's hands, or that the universe also has power, and it's not just our own choices that define us. Okay. So the second week basically of November is a good time to let go and let God, to be cliche, and also to connect either with yourself or deeply with another. Okay, week 3, you've got Knight of Pentacles rooted down by 6 of Cups. You've got a lot of things that are going to keep you afloat. You've got a lot of new ideas. Also, people are regarding you very well. It could be very easy to forgive or be forgiven during the third week. Also, it might be good to be on, how can I say, it might be good to be giving more so than receiving. You might want to think of certain scenarios from the perspective of like, how can I give to it? How can I submit or give to the situation instead of taking from it? Maybe that is a better way to solve some of these problems as well. And Knight of Pentacles is very much a Taurus card, so you're getting back to your nature in the third week of November, and you might also be called to make something more yourself and to not try to be someone else. Okay, week number 4. Okay, 9 of Swords rooted down by the 3 of Swords, Sagittarius season. I would say that's just coming from the fact we've had these big Tsquares. Maybe it really sinks in at that point in time. So how you can make this time a little bit better. Don't overspend. Don't push yourself to doing something you don't want to do. Try to not make any huge life-altering decisions right now out of impulse. And beyond that, maybe there's a little bit of a reckoning, about all the choices we've been making for such a long time, about snowballing karma, right? Every day we're thinking poorly about someone, and this snowballs into a difficult experience, or being on the other side of that, And I think here is basically, to sum up your reading, Taurus, November 2021 is about understanding the greater significance of your oncoming journeys than it is about like somehow making yourself like what you have here more, or somehow force something that is at this moment such a big part of your life to be more relevant. I think it's plenty relevant the way that it is. And I think that you actually have bigger things to focus on than a lot of what your mind is trying to present right now, or a lot of what you think is the big stuff right now. So I think that we've got to maybe sit up straight. We've got to change our posture. We've got to claim our power in a way. And I think that we've got to observe a little bit more of what we can actually do in the oncoming time. Because what I will tell you guys is, moving into 2022, and this is good for preparing foresight for that, as I was talking about with the calendar new year actually starting to get super close, right? It's going to be very, very hard to be depriving ourselves of purpose, okay? Or feeling as if we need to be preparing instead of stepping onto the path of purpose by 2022. So the only way that 9 of Swords becomes prevalent during this time is if we focus all of our mental resources onto just doing what we're currently doing, instead of thinking bigger, basically, for you. I would only really say that for you with Uranus in your sign. I do feel like you might need to take it bigger, or I feel like anybody with a really strong Taurus placement might actually need to think about what's coming next instead of trying to jam through what is currently here in a new rebranded way, or in some type of like bigger business way or something like that. To me feels very Nine of Swords. But anyway, let's talk more about that in your extended reading on Patreon. Let's talk about preparing for 2022 in a more sense-making way instead of such a overthinking way. And let's just see what else is coming up for you this month. I'll link it below and in the center of your screen now. Have a great month ahead, Taurus. Much love. Bye.